Hey, so I've been thinking about doing a video for a little while, and I figured maybe now's a good time. So here's how I see it. Way back when, most of Newfoundland was doing really well, or at least we were providing. All the rural communities were fishing, bringing in money, and things were okay. Tourism eventually would have added to those sustainable industries, but the government refused to listen to the fishermen when the fishermen started telling them that the cod stocks were getting smaller. And they knew why the cod stocks were getting smaller. The cod stocks were getting smaller because the government had decided to allow winter fishing up in northern Labrador. And everyone knows that as a fisherman, if they're going to give you a license, you're not going to say no, you're going to go catch it. So the government made the decision to issue these licenses. The men, women, whoever went out, fished during spawning season. Millions and billions and trillions of cod spawn went over the sides of these boats in the winter months. So the government killed the cod fishery by not listening to the people and ignoring their concerns and waiting too late. Once they realized how bad cod stocks were getting, instead of listening to the fishermen because it all made sense, they had the bright idea to bring in scientists and research what happened to the fish. Because, they needed another reason besides what the fishermen were telling them. Because the fishermen couldn't be right. There had to be another reason. There was so much cod in the ocean that there was no way that they made a poor decision and fished out the cod stocks. The government played no part in that. So they brought in scientists. And those scientists cost money because they had to pay them. Their boats to bring them out cost money. The equipment that they used to research what the fishermen already knew cost money. Then the fishery had to close because there wasn't enough cod in the ocean to keep our small communities surviving on fish alone. The government then had to provide for these people. These people who were self-sustaining, who were making their own money, who didn't need any help from the government, now needed to be reschooled. They needed money if they couldn't. They needed help. And who did this? The positions that we are fighting against right now. They may not be the same people, but the positions are the same. So then, the Minister of Fisheries had the gall to get up and say, well, I didn't catch the fish. No, you didn't catch the fish, but you were part of the process that issued the licenses that caused the fish to decrease and become lower stock so that people couldn't go out and catch them. The government did that. So all of the revenue loss from the fishermen not being allowed to fish anymore and the extra expense on our government trying to provide for people who they put in this predicament started this whole mess. Then tourism came along. People tried to get tourism up and running so that our rural communities would still have something to help them provide for themselves. And what did our government do? They decided tourism wasn't the right way to go. So little by little, they kept taking away bit by bit by bit from our tourism industry until it's pretty well non-existent for the most part. In certain places that could be blooming with tons of tourists every year, every year numbers are getting smaller and smaller. So then brings us to where we are right now. We have people in those positions in government still making the same mistakes, still making poor decisions, still throwing our money away, and they're still looking at us for more. And I am sorry, but that's not okay. That's not okay. These positions are no longer worth one penny, let alone $95,000 a year. So I am mad and I am angry because I do not want to pay these positions to still continue to make bad decisions. They need to take that budget back, sit down as a group and decide how much those positions are worth to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, because right now they are worth $0. Zero. We would prefer if none of you were even in there. You need to look at your own salary, maybe $20,000, $30,000 a year until this deficit is paid off. I believe that is, some people say it's unfair, but personally, why shouldn't you, after all the years of these positions making mistakes, why should that position still be allowed to thrive when the rest of the province is falling? People who are in these positions right now should only have the benefit and a vision for Newfoundland and Labrador, and you guys don't have one. All you do is bicker back and forth, and you can't come to any solution to fix this problem. Well, here's how you fix the problem first. You start where the problem exists. And the problem exists within our MHAs and our Premier and anyone and everyone who supports them directly. Our problem exists because they keep draining our system, wanting more money for a service they are not providing. I want to see our government take back this budget and do what needs to be done. Decrease their own salaries, get rid of the extra salaries for this and that and something else, take away their offices and make them work from home to get rid of the overhead that's costing us money, take their cars, make them use their own, and pay for gas only. If they cared about this province and the people in it, they would sacrifice from the government level, just like a parent would sacrifice for their children. I want to see change in Newfoundland and Labrador, but until we stand up and put this government in their place and make them realize who puts food on their table, they're going to continue to stand up there and act like there's nothing we can do to them, like they are untouchable, and they need to realize that they're not. Because we pay their bills. They should listen to us. And just as fast as we put them in there, we can take them out. So everyone in Newfoundland and Labrador, if you're not against the budget, the one thing that you should be against is the way that the MHAs are acting. For Dale Kirby to get up there and say that the middle and low income class are spouting off nonsense is ignorant, rude, and the most disrespectful actions I have ever seen from a taxpayer employee, because that's what you are. You're a taxpayer's employee. You do not get to stand up there and tell the people who put food on your table that we're spouting off nonsense. And I would love to see you in a position in a company tell your boss that. Because your boss would throw you out on your behind so fast as he could pick you up and you would fly out there. And the rest of the people in the province need to put you in your place. You guys are employees of this province. You are not our employers. And it's time for you guys to make changes to bring this province where it should have been 30 years ago, 40 years ago, instead of continuing to tax and fee the death and the life right out of us.